You snoozed twice this morning, spilled your coffee once, and you've already blamed last night's referee for your morning mood.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's time to embrace the chaos and step into the madness.
Bro, you about to see a side of me you didn't even know existed.
Featuring guests who are over-caffeinated and less reasonable than the average person.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Come on, man. Are you serious? Ugh.
Fans, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Welcome to the show.
So buckle up. It's time for hot takes and hot mics. This is the Morning Rant, where the only thing more unpredictable is Dave before his third cup of coffee.
I just felt like running.
On WPGY, the Sports Pig.
What's up, North Georgia? Dave Garner with you right here on a Tailgate Thursday. Welcome into the Morning Rant Monday through Friday right here on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com. We have got an action-packed show for you today, and we've only got 60 minutes to do it. Again, this is the fastest 1 hour in talk radio, sports talk radio in the land. I'm convinced of that, and here to help me get through it is the golden boy, Will Cooper, back with us right here on a Tailgate Thursday presented by your friends at Green Heating and Cooling. They've been getting it done since 71. They can get it done for you, too. Call Green Heating and Cooling today. Will Cooper, man, a lot of Braves talk here today. A lot of things going on. Looking sharp, man. Look like you're getting into Masters mode with the golf shirt. You got the hat on there and everything. So, man, thanks for being with us, partner.
I think I've settled on the sports look since I was about 18 years old, and I'm stuck with the Under Armour polos. And, the one time I decided to branch out and wear a Columbia, fishing shirt on a casual Friday, I got bullied by you. So I'm stick with my Under Armour because it seems like you don't bully me as much.
And so now you can be just like a middle school boy there with the Under Armour stuff. Man, I like it. No, there's a lot of people that wear Under Armour. The reason I say that, and I do love Under Armour, but, back when my son was in like middle school, early high school, that all the boys, man, they all wear the Under Armour shirts and shorts and stuff to school, and so it was just kind of a popular
Really?
look.
It was Nike when I was a kid.
Really? Yeah. So things have changed a little bit here, and so again, we have a guy that runs around this office. He is like a Puma guy to the core, like wears Puma stuff, and that's pretty much it. So I mean, there's flavors for all types out there, I guess. Again, I tend to kind of float between Nike, Adidas. I like New Balance. I've got a couple different things there. And, I'm old now, Coop, so, hey, man, I can rock some Skechers. I mean, it is what it is.
Everybody used to make fun of Skechers, but when I was about 6 years old, I had a pair of Skechers light-up shoes.
Yeah.
I was the coolest guy on the block.
Yeah.
So, that's what made me fast, was learning how to dominate hide and seek in the dark with the glow-up shoes, knowing I wasn't really hiding from anybody, but, had to be faster. Survival of the fittest,
Did
really.
you ditch those about a year ago, I guess, or two, or...
No, I still got them.
You still got them. They still fit. And yeah, I love it. Yeah, exactly. So already taking our jabs, man, while we can here. Hey, it's been a week since I've seen you, man. We got to get caught up here. So again, Will Cooper joining us right here on this Tailgate Thursday, as we said, presented by our friends at Green Heating and Cooling. Hey, we do have a lot to get into here today, and we've got some NFL news that has just kind of come across the wire. We're going to talk a little bit about dirt track racing. We mentioned a lot about that yesterday. Of course, Coop is our Braves insider, so a lot of Braves talk towards the back half of our show here today. March Madness, man, we've got to dive into that. Masters, Tiger Woods, I mean, a slew of things. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Now, I will say this. The Atlanta Hawks last night with a win, another win, a 130-101 over the Orlando Magic. Guys, let's be honest. Our demographic, we're here in North Georgia. We're in the North Georgia mountains. We're in the middle of NASCAR country, okay? This is Braves country, all right? We all know that. But we cannot ignore, what's going on with the Atlanta Hawks. Everybody in the country right now is talking about those guys. Even Stephen A. Smith, went on a little bit of a rant the other day about, I don't want my Knicks playing the Atlanta Hawks in the first round, and you heard it here a little earlier in the last hour with Unsportsmanlike. Again, right here on the home of ESPN Radio, they were talking about how dangerous the Atlanta Hawks were. Guys, as Stephen A. Smith would say, But I digress, because we have to talk about this Atlanta Hawks team. We mix in a lot of different things here. High school sports, you name it. We like to keep it a little bit more regional, a little bit closer to home. But 17-2 over the last 19 games cannot be ignored. This Atlanta Hawks team is on a heater, and right now they're currently sitting 5th in the Eastern Conference standings. I know you've been following this team here a little bit, Coop, but man, your thoughts about this team, man. They just continue to, trudge right along since the whole Trae Young deal.
Yeah, finally jumped the Raptors is pretty much done, I think, from here on out. When you look at who's above them, you got Cleveland and teams like that. I don't see any way they're going to move up any more than the 5. But here's part of it, right, is that basketball is a game of when your team's hot at the right time. We talk about it with March Madness. It's one of those things that if you get hot at the right time, how far can you carry that?
Right, yeah.
For the Hawks, I hope it doesn't burn out in the playoffs because, we got just a few games left, really a couple more weeks in April, and we'll be into the postseason. My biggest concern is that they get on this heater and they're beating teams across the board, right? They're beating some quality opponents in this 19-game stretch.
Right.
But I don't want them to get into the playoffs and burn it out and be like, well, we spent so much energy trying to get in that now we don't have anything and they're, a series and out, which is what I think will happen, but I hope not.
I hope not either. I mean, the schedule admittedly has been favorable for the Atlanta Hawks over the last month. However, still, we've seen it traditionally, this Hawks team playing down to their level of their opponent, losing games to the Wizards, losing games to teams they shouldn't. But during this run, coming off a big win over Boston the other night, turning around and then able to beat an Orlando Magic team that's playing some good ball right now. We talked about the South, Charlotte, Orlando, Miami, all those teams playing very well this season, and the Hawks are getting dubs over them. Now, they do play Cleveland. I think they've got 5 left. I think they've got Cleveland a couple times, which is the team right in front of them. Doubtful they're going to catch those guys. They're about 3 or 4 games ahead with 5 to play. Cleveland would have to collapse. You never know what can happen, though, but right now, either way, you're looking at potentially a Cleveland-Atlanta playoff series if the Hawks can at least maintain that 5 spot. So, again, a lot of things working in the Hawks' direction right now. Credit to Quinn Snyder keeping this team together. Jalen Johnson is a star. Dyson Daniels, the Great Barrier Thief, the Australian player with good defense, but he's also chipping in on the offensive side of things as well. And then you got CJ McCollum, who's come over and been lighting it up from the Trailblazers. Jonathan Kuminga, some bench guys, coming in there and contributing. Okongwu had a big game last night as well. So I love the makeup of this Hawks team. Certainly worthy to talk about. Want to go ahead and get that out there on the table. Not going to spend a lot of time on it, but nonetheless, the Atlanta Hawks right now on a big heater as they get yet another dub last night over the Orlando Magic, 130-101. That leads us into our March Madness talk, too. We're getting basketball out of the way here in this first segment. Not to get it out of the way. I know that sounds bad right there, but right now, if you're watching this show on YouTube, you are looking, okay, not me, but the other guy in the frame is the guy that's currently leading the Geiger Legal Group Bracket Challenge right now in the numero uno spot, and that is the Golden Boy, Will Cooper. How'd you do it?
Randomly. Anybody that tells you that March Madness is anything but a collection of informed random guesses, they're lying to you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I mean, no, but you're rocking it right now. You're in the catbird seat. You've obviously dominated our little friend bracket that we got going on there. Your thoughts, though, Final Four, I mean, the Illini was a great pick. I mean, they obviously got it done. They got a tough task, certainly, against a UConn team that seems like they may be a team of destiny at this point with the way they came back and, hit the shot there against Duke. But your thoughts on the Final Four, man, as we go into this weekend?
It's a great Final Four. Michigan, Arizona is going to be a heck of a game. They're both arguably the 2 best teams we've seen game the entire season.
Right.
Illinois was a team that started out pretty slow. The reason I liked them to get all the way to the championship game if they do beat UConn is because they have a collection of talent. They're just learning how to play as a team, and it seems to me the tournament has helped them do that. UConn, on the other hand, you saw when they had nothing going. They couldn't hit the 3. They couldn't do nothing in the really first 30 minutes of that game against Duke, but they find a way to win. And that's, credit to Dan Hurley, who's the head coach at UConn, obviously a legend amongst, the basketball coaches that are out there in the college world now.
Sure.
I think it's going to be a heck of a game on both sides. My heart says that UConn is going to run the table of Illinois. I don't think Illinois is going to stand much of a chance, but my head's telling me that Illinois got a shot because they're a little bigger.
Right.
And then, kind of the same thing with Arizona, Michigan. I hope and pray that Arizona can find a way to pull it out, but
yeah.
I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, Michigan's playing really good ball right now. I did have them in the national championship. I just picked the wrong side of that, obviously, with Houston. My man Billy D that was in here on Tuesday did the same thing, so we're both kind of on the outside looking in there. But I do like Michigan. I think that over Arizona this weekend, we'll see how it plays out. Arizona, obviously very talented, especially in their backcourt, and so we'll see what happens. I mean, it's all about guard play, as we know when we get kind of late into this level, it seems like. And so again, breaking down the matchups right here, you never know, man. Any combination of those four would not surprise me at all as we get set for March Madness on Saturday night. Again, the Final Four Saturday night, the national championship game on Monday, and again, we're looking forward to that. Hey, some NFL news real quick. Kirk Cousins to the Raiders, where he is expected to join up with the assumed number 1 overall draft pick, Fernando Mendoza. Again, so Kirk Cousins finding a home after being released by the Atlanta Falcons, and so we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow with Big John Davis as the free agency and the new league year, of course, is underway now for the NFL. But did you see the video that apparently leaked this morning of the Atlanta Falcons' new uniforms? Apparently, they are going back to the red jersey, unless they're just trying to throw off our scent. But again, they're supposed to release them, I think, officially later this morning or maybe this afternoon. But it does look like it's already leaked, and it does appear the Falcons are going back to the red there. And we were talking about it. Anytime there's a regime change, all right, as if the uniform is going to make that much of a difference. But it does seem like anytime you have a new change of leadership, they always want to kind of put their stamp on the team. And one of the ways that a lot of teams do that is by the uniform. Now, I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I'm a traditionalist. I love, the Green Bay Packers. They've kind of kept the same look forever. I know you're a big Alabama fan, Crimson Tide. They're not coming out in, black throwback or, this, that, and the other type stuff. They got the same, simple uniforms they've basically had forever. So what do you make of the new uniform, though, man? Have you seen anything about it, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to go back to the red. It's kind of reminiscent of what we had in the 2000s, that Matt Ryan wore. And now that he's, head of football operations, I kind of see the vision that they're going for there. But I'm with you, man. I mean, I get so tired of you buy a jersey and it's good for about a decade and then we got to change it again. Yeah. I mean, in my memory, it seems like the Falcons just changed their logo, just changed all this stuff. And here we go again. I mean, at a certain point, and we wear so many throwbacks, it's
already,
like, why don't you just readopt one of those already?
That's what I was thinking they did. I figured they would adopt the throwback, the black throwback jersey, but go to the red helmet, because a lot of people have been speculating about going back to the red helmet and everything. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they will. It might be too much red. If they go with the red jersey, they'll probably stay with the black hat. So, but either way, it'll be interesting to see what happens right there. Either way, your Atlanta Falcons, again, gearing up for the draft, as all are the other 31 teams in the NFL. Again, the draft later this month, and we're going to talk about that more as well. Hey, we're up against our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk some high school news. We got some, racing news, and then we're going to dive into our Braves talk. A lot of Braves talk here with our insider Will Cooper. That and more coming up right here on this Tailgate Thursday edition of the Morning Rant, right here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia, on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
98.1 and 93.7 The Sports Pig, your official home for flag-to-flag coverage of NASCAR.
Tired of shouting your business's name into the void and getting nothing but crickets? Your brand deserves more than awkward billboard glances and flyers lining bird cages. Right now, listeners are hearing me ramble on instead of your ad. That's a touchdown for missed opportunities and a fumble for your wallet. Your ad could be here, making fans laugh, cheer, and most importantly, call you. Go to sportspigradio.com or call 678-454-9552 and get your business off the bench and into the game.
Big opinions of the big games. from the big mouths.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the Morning Rant on WPGY, the Sports Pig, North Georgia's home for ESPN Radio.
Sit down.
Welcome back to the Morning Rant. Dave Garner with you right here till 11 o'clock. Again, our man Chuck Oliver, who we didn't get to yesterday because of the early Braves game that kicked off right at 12:15. But the king of college football is back today in his regular time slot, and he is ready to break down spring football practice, recruiting news, you name it, a little bit of everything with Southern Sports Today coming up here in about 45 minutes right here on the Morning Rant. Hey, man, I'm back here on a Tailgate Thursday with my man Will Cooper chopping it up, and next week is Masters Week again throughout the country, really, and of course we're going to talk a little bit about the Masters leading all the way up to the par 3 in the middle of the week, the big tournament, of course, coming up next week there. We spoke briefly about it yesterday with a friend of ours, Patrick McVeigh, who, of course, is the father of Jackson McVeigh, the current from Ellijay, Gilmer High School graduate that is currently a member of the University of Georgia basketball team. He stopped by yesterday. We did our first ever on-location show, in case you missed it, yesterday at the pub in Ellijay as we celebrated 1 month of the show being on the air as part of our Winging It Wednesday, and enjoyed those $1 wings just in time for first pitch. The Braves game yesterday, that business person special with the first pitch at 12:15 there. But we were talking a little bit about the Masters, and obviously the big story that broke over the weekend, in addition to March Madness, was the Tiger Woods incident. Obviously, with the flipping the SUV, being taken in for a suspected DUI or what have you. Even though he passed a breathalyzer test, he refused the blood test, and so now there's some reports coming out, different things saying, that there were indeed some different things there in his system. But again, it's kind of a repeat behavior for Tiger Woods, as we saw. And you almost, and I said this earlier in the week with John, you almost feel bad for the guy because there's obviously something going on there. But the big takeaway that we had from that whole story, Coop, was, man, with your level of income, hire a driver. I mean, if this is something that we're seeing repeated over and over again, maybe it's time to break down, give someone else the keys or something. But I know for a lot of people that's tough.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to applaud you for being, politically correct, and your social justice doesn't go unnoticed.
I was trying
for your business person,
special. Yes, I mean, hey, women love the Braves games too, so
Yeah, I mean, you can change the term we've all said for 200 years. That's fine. But yeah, the Tiger Woods thing. I do feel bad for him. In a serious note, from a psychological standpoint, addiction is nothing to play with. I think all of us have seen it at some point or another. And it's especially difficult by a guy who's an athlete, who's had injuries, who goes to the doctor and they prescribe him things that, would be addictable or be easy to be addicted to.
Sure. Yeah.
And, when we talk about just why don't we hire him a driver? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? That gives up so much control for that person to their addiction. It's almost like they're giving up is the way that a lot of people see that. So I understand the psychology behind why not, but at the same time, you do have to kind of admit that, hey, I've got this problem, and when, I'm going to the doctor for back pain and they give me oxycodone, I don't need to drive for the 6 months I got the prescription or whatever it is. But I feel bad for him. I don't take any pleasure in it. I'm not the biggest Tiger Woods fan in the world anyway, but even without that, I still hate the guy. Not hate the guy, sorry. I hate that for him.
Yeah, well,
Freudian slip.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But you to your point though, you got to use your head. You can't put yourself in these situations. And when you do it once, it's one thing. When you do it a second time, okay. But it just seems like this is kind of a repetitive behavior, which I think is the most alarming thing. And my point was earlier in the week. Now with the Masters, of course, on deck. Hopefully that's not going to take away, from the tournament. It's going to be talked about. It's just too big a story not to be. But at the same time, we're still looking forward to a great event next week here, in Augusta, in Georgia. The most prestigious, I think, of not only golf tournaments, but one of the most prestigious sporting events, I think, in our country every year. The Green Jacket, a tradition unlike any other. So definitely looking forward to seeing everything in full bloom next week. And hopefully we'll have some good weather for this year's Masters.
Yeah, it's a great tournament. As we've kind of alluded to me, it's the arrival of spring in Georgia and across the Southeast. Obviously, there are some big storylines going into this. When we look at who's at the top of the leaderboard right now in the PGA Tour, not any names we're not familiar with.
Right.
Which is my kind of complaint with golf, to be honest, is it's like, oh, here we go again.
Right.
But at the same time, the Masters does allow itself where it's not always the top few guys that win it. And I'm excited to see how it plays out. And, more than anything, just excited what it means for the weather.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all kind of talk about that as the Masters really is sort of that changing of the guard, between March Madness and you jump into the Masters. I think about the Kentucky Derby being, early in May. And so you kind of, from a sports standpoint, that's how we gauge the weather, right? We don't need the Farmer's Almanac. We just need the sporting events to tell us what time of year we're in, right? So, again, definitely looking forward to the Masters next week. Hey, we were talking about racing, and, of course, Chase Elliott getting the big dub. They sounded the siren over at the Dawsonville Pool Room over the weekend. Again, NASCAR off this weekend and Easter weekend. They'll be back at it next Sunday at Bristol. So they go from Martinsville to another small track, but Bristol, obviously, with the banking, is considered a super speedway and is always one of the more premier races on the circuit there. So, again, that'll be next Sunday. We'll talk a little bit more about NASCAR as well next week, but we really got into it yesterday with dirt track racing. And I had mentioned, growing up, going to the Dixie Speedway, spending a lot of Saturday nights down in Woodstock with my dad. Our neighborhood basically, backed right up to the track. You could see the lights. You could hear the late models roaring, man, late into the night, any Saturday night there. And we do have a new program coming, in case you missed the announcement yesterday, right here to the Sports Pig. And it is going to be a dirt track racing focused show. We're going to touch on NASCAR and some other things as well, general racing. But again, we're right here in North Georgia. We talked about it in the first segment. Our demographics, man, we're right in the middle of Braves country. We're right in the middle of NASCAR country. We're right in the middle of racing country. Again, between Sugar Creek, between Woodstock or Dixie Speedway and Woodstock and some other local tracks. Man, this is the heart of stock car racing. And so, again, we're excited to have that show. And I know you're not a huge racing fan, but you followed enough, I guess. I mean, to a certain extent. So definitely excited to have that presence right here on the show. And, man, it only fits.
Yeah, it really does. It's kind of funny to me, the guy that grew up going to Dixie Speedway is busy saying business person special, not businessman special. I mean, you would think you got a can of Budweiser cracked right there below the screen.
Well, but, maybe I do, and maybe I do. No, I'm just kidding, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Not that ever mattered to you.
I wouldn't be doing that on the air. Yeah, no. Now there are some other people I know that probably be doing that, but yeah, no, not me, man. I'm not a big beer. Here's the thing. I can't. Beer for me, man, I just can't. It's just too much, man. You get old like this and you're already taking, stuff for indigestion and stuff, man. It just doesn't fare well for this guy. So you're just kind of,
I care enough about you to leave it alone because, you just got done mentioning the demographics. I think with the demographics that you just stated, the idea that you can't drink a beer because of the rumbly tumblies is going to, not win you a lot of points.
I just like to give you ammo because I like to see what you come up with. Because later in the show, we're going to talk about the Cooper Predictor, and we're going to run some sporting stuff through it, which I think you've got some more tennis news for us this week. So we're going to run that through it here in a moment. But I like to give you a little bit of ammo and play around because I took some jabs at you in the first segment. So, hey, right here in segment 2, man, I'll let you make it up a little bit. So,
I appreciate that, especially knowing that whenever I see you out on a date or you and I hanging out and, we're ordering a couple drinks and, I'm getting a bourbon on the rocks or maybe a Manhattan if I'm feeling fancy. And, you're over there with the menu and you're like, what is this fancy tea?
You're right.
Can you make it a double?
Oh, my goodness gracious. Here we go.
That's you,
man. Yeah. And my wife leans into it because she'll take a picture of something and send it to you just so you got her on your side even. I can't win, man. I can't win right here. So, hey, speaking of food and beverages, have you seen any of the new menu items at Truist? We touched on this yesterday, and this will lead us into our Braves talk in segments, 3 and 4 here today. The back half of the show is going to pretty much be all Braves for the most part. We'll throw in a couple other tidbits as well. But, man, you can make fun of me all you want to, but, man, I tell you what, I pulled up, there was a menu item yesterday. It was called the bat flip. It's like a double burger with onions. It looked like it had like white buffalo sauce on it, cheese. But there's a lot of new menu items at Truist that I'm looking forward to maybe trying out. Now, we were there Friday night for opening day, but we didn't actually get to go in the stadium because we were along Radio Row outside the stadium. But, man, I'm ready to get down there and try it out. Anything jump out at you off the new menu?
Well, so here's a Braves insider tip from a former season ticket holder when Truist first opened back when it was SunTrust.
Yeah.
On the first base gate side, there is a specific restaurant there, and they've changed the name of it, so I'm not sure which one it is at this point.
Right.
But Delaware North is who does the catering for the Braves.
Yes.
They create a new menu item every series based on the team that's being played.
Oh, wow.
So an example of that would be when Philly's in town, they'll do a Philly cheesesteak that's, got lamb. When
sense.
they go to, like when the Marlins come to town, they do like a tuna hamburger type thing, like a fish sandwich, but it's got a big old piece of tuna on it.
I like it.
So if you're ever at the stadium and there's a team that's there that you're like, I wonder what they have, you can go on Twitter and search up Delaware North Braves, and it'll pull up what they've created for that series, and you can see if it's something you'd like to have.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like it. You got to go with the themes, man. You got to keep the promotions rolling right there. The Braves are big into that. They already had Drake Baldwin bobblehead night. He hit a home run on his bobblehead night. So, yeah, already the promotions cranking up there early in the season. And there are a lot of discounted tickets, by the way, for this first month. There's some different deals going on, I think, online. So if you're wanting to make plans to go down to Truist Park and catch a Braves game, maybe this first month of the season would be the time to do it for sure if you want some discounted tickets. So again, the Atlanta Braves hot and heavy right here. Hey, we are up against our second break. When we come back, we are going to jump right in to some baseball talk and some other news as well. So keep it locked right here on this Tailgate Thursday edition of the Morning Rant right here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
98.1 and 93.7 The Sports Pig, where hot takes meet hot mics.
Tired of shouting your business's name into the void and getting nothing but crickets? Your brand deserves more than awkward billboard glances and flyers lining bird cages. Right now, listeners are hearing me ramble on instead of your ad. That's a touchdown for missed opportunities and a fumble for your wallet.
Recovered, Atlanta. Game over.
Your ad could be here, making fans laugh, cheer, and most importantly, call you. Go to sportspigradio.com or call 678-454-9552 and get your business off the bench and into the game.
We bring the heat, you bring the trash talk.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
It's the Morning Rant, live on the Sports Pig app and sportspigradio.com.
Back here on the program on a Tailgate Thursday. Dave Garner with you till the top of the hour. We appreciate you guys checking us out on social media. Again, the Sports Pig on Facebook and Twitter. The Morning Rant on Instagram. Also, video episodes loaded up on YouTube. And, of course, you can also catch us on the different podcast platforms, wherever you download your podcast, Spotify, Podbean, you name it. We are all over the place each and every day, and we encourage you guys to listen in as you've been doing. And here we are at April 2nd. Today, I guess you could say, really, we celebrated it yesterday, but today really is the official 1-month anniversary. We started this show on a Monday, March the 2nd. Today, it's April the 2nd. So here we are, a full month already on there. They haven't kicked us off yet. So apparently we're doing something right, or at least we haven't done enough yet to get kicked off the air. Let's keep it that way. But again, we appreciate you guys being with us. Hey, yesterday was April Fool's Day. Did you have any April Fool's jokes played on you? Any pranks, anything? Or did you play anything on anybody?
No, I'm smart enough to stay off social media on April 1st.
Yes.
I hate that when you see something and it's something you really wanted to happen, or, because like these sports teams know they like fans want something and then they play into it.
Oh, yeah.
And then change. So I just try to avoid it. And other than that, no, it was pretty much business as usual.
Totally trying to lean into it. I tell you, someone that got a joke played on them yesterday was the Johnson High School, bless their hearts, baseball team. They got beat yesterday by North Hall High School You ready for this? 46-0. Now, I was looking that up. I don't know if that's a GHSA record or not. Apparently, there was one of the young men for North Hall had 11 RBIs. As a team, they hit 7 home runs. Johnson High, not to throw shade at them, because traditionally speaking, they've had some good teams over the years, but North Hall 16-6 on the year, Johnson winless. But again, that was just some news that kind of got thrown out there a little bit statewide here in North Georgia. And I was looking up the record. I couldn't find a GHSA record about that. But I believe all time the most lopsided high school baseball game ever recorded was way back in 1928, about 100 years ago, and it was a 109-0 shutout. I don't know what state, I don't know what two teams. That's just kind of what I pulled up on there. But yeah, nonetheless, man, I think you and I and maybe a couple others could have grabbed a glove and maybe helped that one out.
I mean, I was a decent ball player back in my day. I'd like to think I could be of assistance. I don't know if I still could be. I've tried not to follow the Dave Garner diet, so I'd like to think I'm still, fairly athletic in my time. But
the Dave Garner diet, that ought to be something. Maybe I could brand that right there. Hey, if you want the dad bod, the perfect dad bod, then jump on the diet right here. And real quick before we're about to jump into our Braves talk, but before we do that though, we did have a conversation yesterday. You are as much of a high school sports insider as you are Braves or anything as we talk about. And, the one thing I do love about this show is we have different perspectives from different folks, as I've said, that also tie back into a local or regional perspective. And one of those differentiators that we have right here that's different than everyone else is, we do talk about national sports. We talk about college football, things like that. But we do try to tie in our local high schools. And one of the points that we talked about yesterday was the fact that traditionally in the North Georgia mountains, this is not admittedly a hotbed of recruiting for major D1 schools, for the SEC, ACC type stuff. But currently right now you got 2 kids from LJ. One's playing on the Georgia Tech football team, Kiker. The other one, Jackson McVeigh, is currently a member of the University of Georgia basketball team. Now, we did find out yesterday after that interview that apparently Jackson did decide to hit the portal. Doesn't mean he's completely out of Georgia, but as of right now, he's a UGA basketball player, but highly recruited. His younger brother, Preston, is also getting a lot of looks. But I guess the point was it's nice to see this area finally being put on the map, because the mountain area traditionally don't produce a lot of big time talent, as we said, but that's starting to change a little bit, man. There's some guys and gals that are doing some really good things here in this area.
Yeah, and it's good to see the transfer from Georgia. I don't know if you heard this or not, but I think the University of Georgia is looking at hiring Tiger Woods as a personal development coach for the Georgia football team.
For the drive, yes,
specifically
exactly.
with their driving habits.
Goodness. Yeah, I knew that was coming. Right there. So again, we'll just leave that one alone right there. But congratulations again to all of our student athletes as we've wrapped up winter season right here in the middle of spring season with high school baseball, soccer, track, tennis, golf, you name it, a little bit of everything going on right here as we transition now to our Braves talk.
Time for this week's It's time to chop on.
Swung on it, jolted high in the air, deep right field, back to the wall, a sonic boom out of the ballpark. Braves win it.
From Truist Park to every corner of Braves country, we've got your daily dose of Atlanta Braves baseball.
A walk-off grand slam, and this place erupts here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Highlights, hot takes, and all things red, white, and navy. It's the Tomahawk Take on WPGY, the Sports Pig.
All right, so our Atlanta Braves have kicked off the season. They've had 2 series, and they've won both of them. Again, winning, 2-1 each series right there. Your thoughts initially as we kind of start from the beginning of the season, and typically what we'll do right here is at least once a week we'll kind of dive in, kind of break down the season so far. Like I said, man, it's been a week since I've talked to you. You're our Braves insider. What do you think so far?
Kind of a good news, bad news situation. Good news is Walt Weiss seems like he is really keen on winning games. The way he managed that Grand Slam winner off Dom Smith, obviously it didn't matter who the pinch runners were, but seeing him take Matt Olson out, seeing him take some of these guys out and be like, we just need a run, because we'll win it in extras, selling out to win. That's something Brian Snicker would never do. So much appreciated from Weiss. The Braves currently have the lowest team ERA for starters at 1.8 ERA, as we all expected that they would.
Yeah.
Right. Credit to them. And then some bad stuff. Look, Acuna, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, those guys right now at the bats are just a liability. You would rather see Mauricio Dubon, Dom Smith, Yaz, and obviously Drake Baldwin hit in their place. Yeah. Because right now, your big three, if you will, are not acting like it. I do believe they'll come back around, but so far it's been really good managing. It's been really good pitching. The bullpen's really solid. Right. And overall, we beat a couple teams that we should have beat. Those are series you should win. So, we'll see with a little bit more of an actual test this week coming up when we go to Arizona this evening. Yeah, heading out to the West Coast yesterday was a getaway game, an early afternoon start there, and now they're out in Arizona for a 4-game set over the weekend. The one thing I liked about, and we've already kind of talked about it throughout the week, you talked about the big moment on Saturday night. Dominic Smith, 2 weeks after his mom dies of cancer, comes in his first game as a Brave, hits the walk-off grand slam. First time that's happened in Atlanta, I think, since 2010 with Brooks Conrad, I believe, was the last one that did that. The thing I liked about the win yesterday, and it was the rubber game of the series. They dropped the one the night before, but they didn't hit a home run. They scored 5 or put up a 5 spot. Chris Sale with another outstanding outing for Atlanta. He's 2-0 now in the year, but she didn't rely on the long ball yesterday, and that's the point. I know Billy D and others give me a hard time about that. I'm not saying we need to bunt guys over all the time and things like that and completely play small ball, but to your point, doing what it takes to win, and I like the fact that we put up 5 runs yesterday. None of them were home runs. Now, Drake Baldwin obviously was a big part of that. He's been on an absolute tear to start the season, living up to Rookie of the Year honors last year in the National League. One of the guys, though, that took headlines, and you and I talked about it off air, was Shea Langoliers. I mean, he hit another home run yesterday. The one run that Oakland got was a solo shot from Langoliers. He's now the Major League leader with 5 home runs in 6 games. So again, there was a time where we were stocked full of some pretty good catching prospects. No, well, yeah. So you had Wilson Contreras, who's the current starting catcher for the Brewers.
Right, yeah.
You had Shea Langoliers, who's, and by the way, Contreras an all-star for the last 2 years. Yeah. Langoliers was also in the system, and Drake Baldwin. So at one point, you had Contreras and Gwinnett, Langoliers in Double-A, which was in Mississippi. Yeah. And then you had in Single-A in Rome, you had Drake Baldwin. Yeah. And we traded 2 of them away. Obviously, the Contreras trade did not pan out. But you can make an argument the Shea Langoliers trade did, because with a combination of him and Christian Pache, we got Matt Olson and Sean Murphy for it. So, yeah. Was it worth it? I don't know.
You hate the Braves, obviously, building up when they struggled through those years when they had Freddie Gonzalez, and after, Bobby Cox retired before Snicker kind of came in and everything, you had that really dim period there for the Braves for a while, and they had really depleted their minor league system. I mean, I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't necessarily understand. And so Frank Wren came as a GM, but he was basically just kind of a chop man, pardon the pun, to come in and kind of rebuild the minor league system. And so the Major League Braves struggled for a while, but we were able to rebuild with some good prospects. And now, especially, winning the World Series a few years ago. Now, I know that a lot of that was Alex Anthopoulos making some moves before the deadline, but at the same time, the Braves have kind of replenished, I feel like, to a certain extent, their minor league system, so much so to the point that they were able to make some of those trades that you're talking about because they had prospects and guys that are now panning out, certainly with their major league clubs. But you're not going to apologize for having Drake Baldwin right now, beating those guys out. I mean, Contreras obviously has done well. Langoliers looks like he's certainly on the rise. But I think Drake Baldwin is certainly a guy that, being a Rookie of the Year, picking up this season already right where he left off. I want to talk about the pitching, too, real quick, because you mentioned it. Obviously, you've gotten some good starts. You're going to get some spot starts from guys like Suarez and people like that until you can get Strider back, until you can get Schwelly back. So there's going to be some situations where you're going to throw that 5th or 6th guy out there, and, maybe you're not going to look very good in those games. Who knows? But right now, you're early enough in the season, to your point, like Walt Weiss, playing with the lineup, that you can afford to do that.
Well, I do think Didier Fuentes is going to make that next spot start in place of either of those guys.
Yes. Yeah.
He got put in a tough situation because he had to, pitch long relief a couple of days before that spot was open, which kind of we all thought he might come into. It sounds like that's what they're going to do. They're working with him to get him stretched out for 70, 80 pitches. One thing now that starting pitchers have to contend with that is a new school of thought is it used to be, starting pitcher, 100 pitches, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
Now it's not about the overall pitch count as much as it is, did you have an inning where you had to pitch 30 pitches? Because if you did, then that's too much strain on the arm, and then we got to take you out. We saw that last night yesterday with Luis Severino for the A's.
Yes.
34 pitches in the first inning. They pulled him after 3.5.
Yeah, he walked 3 guys in the first inning. Of course, the Braves couldn't capitalize. They didn't score. Walked a couple of more guys in the second inning. Drake Baldwin, of course, finally made him pay to get Atlanta on the board there. But yeah, to your point, man, you can't get that deep in the pitch count on everybody and expect to stay in a ball game. You just can't do it. So yeah, I think you're right. He was at 40-something pitches through 2 innings, or maybe even more than that. So, but yeah, I've been impressed so far. With everything. I mean, obviously it's early in the season. Time will tell. But hey, I'll take 4-2 over 0-7. Any day of the week, which is how we started last year. I think the biggest thing that alarms me, obviously, Ronald getting picked off yesterday. Michael Harris got picked off a couple of nights ago at first base. I think right now it's just some fundamental things. Ronnie, of all people, don't worry about him, certainly, because he's a generational talent, as we all know. Definitely a slow start, though, for Acuna. So thankfully, you got Drake there in that second spot. It's been able to pick this lineup up a little bit. It's the guys that we weren't sure about. It's the Ozzie Albies, and it's some of those guys that have put the bat on the ball a little bit. But to your point, you got to get your cornerstones hitting. I mean, you got to get, Matt Olson, you got to Austin Riley, and you got to get some of these other guys going, but especially Acuna at the top of that lineup. I think he only had 1 hit through the whole first series, I believe. He had 1 hit Saturday night. That was the only hit he had the entire series against KC.
Yeah, and then he's had a couple in the A's, series, and really a home run that was robbed.
Yeah.
But aside from that, the good news for the Braves bats is that Arizona is a hitter-friendly park. The ball flies because the air is very thin out there in the deserts. I think it's only second to Colorado in terms of ease of hitting a home run.
Sure.
So some of these guys like Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, again, we talk about Austin Riley. He is like the most fundamental example of you look like you should be doing better. Like, I don't see anything that's inherently wrong with what you're doing. You're just not performing.
Right.
And I do think that that'll turn around for those guys, and I think this series is a good opportunity for that.
Absolutely. Braves again 4-2 as they open up a 4-game set tonight on the road at Arizona. Hey, we're up against our final break. When we come back here on this Tailgate Thursday, we will continue our Braves discussion. We'll run something through the Cooper Predictor to see if it sticks. All that and more straight ahead on this edition of the Morning Rant right here on the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Grand Slam!
98.1 and 93.7 The Sports Pig, the official home for the Atlanta Braves baseball.
Tired of shouting your business's name into the void and getting nothing but crickets? Your brand deserves more than awkward billboard glances and flyers lining bird cages. Right now, listeners are hearing me ramble on instead of your ad. That's a touchdown for missed opportunities and a fumble for your wallet.
Recovered, Atlanta, game over.
Your ad could be here, making fans laugh, cheer, and most importantly, call you. Go to sportspigradio.com or call 678-454-9552 and get your business off the bench and into the game.
Morning Grind with Pork Rind.
Welcome to the show.
It's the Morning Rant, weekday mornings from 10 to 11 on 98.1, 93.7, and 101.1 on the H2 dial. WPGY, the Sports Pig.
Back here on the Morning Rant, Dave Garner with you till 11 o'clock. Chuck Oliver up next with Southern Sports Today, talking about the latest in the world of college football. And, of course, we're kind of nearing spring practice games. There's some teams that have already had some scrimmages out there. I know the Tennessee Volunteers. Again, we are the home of Tennessee and Georgia Tech football right here on the Sports Pig and sportspigradio.com. And, again, a lot of the spring games getting set to take part over the next couple weeks. Of course, Easter this weekend. I know Alabama, April 11th, looks like they've got their spring game slated for next weekend, and then Georgia Tech the weekend after that, I believe on the 18th as well. So we are going to ramp up a little bit of college football talk right here as we get closer to those spring games, and we'll dive into that a little bit further and kind of be a good lead-up show, if you will, into our friend Chuck Oliver, who joins us from 11 to 1 weekdays right here on the Sports Pig. Back here with Will Cooper, we were talking about the Atlanta Braves and kind of looking at things here a little bit. Obviously, this series coming up against the Diamondbacks, they're going to stay on the West Coast. So a late start, we had a 12:15 first pitch yesterday, 9:20 or something like that tonight and over the next couple days. But again, hopefully the Braves can keep things rocking and rolling. What is the one biggest thing, I guess, Coop, that stood out to you so far? I mean, you talked about a couple things, but with this particular Braves team, any areas of concern or areas of encouragement for a team that we kind of felt like coming out of spring ball may not be able to live up to that, group grapefruit league, championship type thing? Some of the analytics we talked about with Ozzie Albies, certainly very encouraging seeing him, hitting a home run in his first at bat, on Friday night. So hopefully the analytics will prove to be somewhat wrong with this Atlanta Braves team if they can get things going.
Yeah, I think for me, the encouraging stuff is the side pieces are putting in the work while the main, guys are not. So, Mauricio Dubon, Dom Smith, Yaz, Eli White, Jonah Heim, they're doing enough in the interim until the guys that we've mentioned, Olsen, Riley, and Acuna, and even Michael Harris start really hitting the ball, which I believe they will. It's nice to see that they're putting in the work. So that's a good sign. A good sign is Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez are both really solid. Bryce Elder with a great outing as well. They went into detail on the Braves Vision broadcast about his change of grip, how he learned from Maddox a little bit about how to throw a different pitch in the splitter. That seemed to be a big deal. His velocity's up from where it was last year. That's very encouraging.
Yes.
Things to worry about. The main guys aren't hitting. The back end of the rotation is very questionable at this point. Again, we're going to throw Didier Fuentes out there would be my guess coming up in this series against Arizona and TBD. And the other part of that is I worry about bringing in a guy like Ha-Seong Kim and even at this point Sean Murphy if it'll clutter the decision making that's gone to this point, because why are you going to pull Mauricio Dubon who's hitting 400 out?
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, but that's a good problem to have. I mean, that's the thing about it. You'd rather be overstocked, especially with a team that's kind of been hit by the injury bug over the last, season or two. And so to me, like I look at it as we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, man, let's ride the wave. I mean, for sure, I don't think you're going to be able to pull a guy that's hitting 400 out of the lineup necessarily. But, hey, there's a lot of things to talk about with this Atlanta Braves team. I'm kind of like you. I'm encouraged by the bullpen, I think, as much as anything. I believe the plan was for Didier to get a start, I think, tomorrow night, potentially in Gwinnett, to push him to that 90-pitch limit. So if he doesn't join... If that happens, if they do that, then obviously he probably wouldn't be available for this series, but potentially the next one he would kind of start and back into a normal rotation. So it's only a matter of time, obviously, before he rejoins the team. But like you said, I think he was caught in a situation when people saw that he was being sent down. I think people were like, wait, what? Like, how? Like this kid's, phenomenal. But it was basically to get him into a starting schedule, essentially, for him to rejoin the team to a point that he would be back into a normal rotation. Because you remember, when he came in the other night, he had to pitch 4 innings in relief, and it kind of threw off that whole, schedule of him being able to make a start, necessarily having that much work out of the bullpen at one time.
Yeah, it's tough. And that's one of the nice things about having a young guy like that is that they have options. So if you need to throw him in long relief and you're worried about a pitcher coming up, you can replace him with an arm that's been proven in the bullpen, which is what they did. And, shout out the bullpen, by the way. Suarez, that's been a very – Aaron Bummer had a good outing.
Yep.
I think for all in all, they have built the bullpen back up to 2021-esque levels, at least here in the early goings. So, health becomes a big concern.
Sure.
But where we are right now, I like where we are.
Let's hope that Raisel Iglesias has a big bounce back year as well. Looking good already so far in the season. All right, a few minutes left right here on this Tailgate Thursday edition of the program. Time right now for the Cooper Predictor.
It's time for the weekly Cooper Predictor
60% of the time, it works every time.
on the Morning Rant.
So you're a little bit better than 60%. Don't pay attention to that open. But no, we're talking a little bit about tennis. I mean, and obviously this is the guy right here, Will Cooper, who's leading the Geiger Legal Group Bracket Challenge in the Catbird seat. It'll all play out this weekend. Of course, the Natty on Monday night in March Madness. But you're going a different route today. You're sticking with some tennis, which we touched on a little bit last week. And so far, the Predictor model has been somewhat of a success here during this early part of the tennis season.
I would say so. We're at 72% on the tennis season, if you will, and we are 98% on strong bets. So we've had 34%, or 34 of them total. So we're 33-1. So I don't know if 98% is exactly, but it's close enough for what we're doing here today. So, and look, by this time next week, we will run baseball numbers. So this will be the last week that you're stuck with me with tennis, because we'll move on to baseball and see. You got to get a few things in the hopper first for it to be more accurate. The way it's set up. Exactly. Got to have some numbers. So, but as far as today's slate goes on the Cooper Predictor, you have a number of things going on. A bunch of challengers and some ATP tours. Let's start with ATP since it's more of the big league stuff. We've got ATP Bucharest going on. So we've got Dino Prismic, Fabian Marizozin, Adrian Manarino, Sebastian Baez, and in ATP Marrakech, we've got Ignacio Bus. Those are our picks.
I'm glad you're saying those names. I'm glad you're saying those names and not me.
Well, yeah, I can read. I know that's a big difference between us two.
It ain't got nothing to do with reading. I mean, those are some names right there, though. Yeah. So okay, awesome. All right.
So look, again, it's one of those things with the Predictor where it's my own creation. I came up with it. And a lot of it's throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. I build about 100 different versions of these things. Yeah. This is version number 8.2, technically, is what we're running right now. But it's working so far.
So did you run your March Madness picks through is that how you formulated your bracket, or it didn't have anything to do with that?
No, so I do have a college basketball predictor that hits at about 71%. And we finalized it in the month of February, so we went 71% in February. But March Madness, really any tournament, if anybody's interested in any predictors or picks or anything like that, what I would highly recommend is don't include playoffs or tournaments in those things.
Right.
Because the psychology changes, the matchups change, you're going to get bad data. So when it comes to March Madness, it's just what I thought. So I can't take any credit other than I got lucky on the March Madness bracket.
Yeah, well, you got lucky, all right, man. You predicted the Final Four correctly, and you're sitting in the catbird seat right here, that Geiger Legal Group Challenge. Hey, this is a Tailgate Thursday right here, presented by our friends at Green Heating and Cooling. Once again, they've been getting it done since 1971. They can get it done for you, too. Again, call your friends at Green Heating and Cooling today. With the weather changing, man, it's time to have that diagnostic done anyway. Did you know, and not to change subjects, but again, if you don't have a regular maintenance system and something happens, a lot of times it'll void the warranty. So again, get in the habit of having someone come out every 6 months. Green Heating and Cooling, definitely one of those folks. They've got a good performance plan. They'll treat you right, and we appreciate them being part of the show. We've covered a lot of ground here, and we're almost out of time here in the next couple minutes. But we went into Kirk Cousins, going to the Raiders. We went into the Falcons' new presumed uniforms, going back to a little bit more of a red look there as well. We talked about dirt track racing, everything from the Dixie Speedway to NASCAR. Our Atlanta Hawks, again, on a heater, 17-2 over their last 19 games. We talked about the Masters, which we'll jump into a lot more next week. Tiger Woods, of course, his arrest. March Madness going on this weekend. Again, a lot of Atlanta Braves talk here today. Spring football practice, high school baseball, and recruiting. I mean, you name it, man. And then to top it off, we have the Cooper Predictor as well. Oh, and Truist Park Foods, by the way. So a lot of different ground cover here in just 60 minutes. And that's the kind of energy we bring to the airwaves, on the dial and online at sportspigradio.com. We appreciate you guys being with us. One last question before we get out of here. And I thought about this, this is how my brain works. All right. So if you're doing security detail at a major league park right now, and some idiot jumps the fence and he decides he wants to streak, and you got to tackle him, are you wrapping him up around the ankles, or are you putting that shoulder into his chest? Which one you doing?
I mean, I probably around the ankles, just because I'm not that big. So the odds are that somebody's going to be bigger than me.
But chances are the guy's not going to be looking. You're going to be able to blindside him.
I mean, I would like it for the highlight reel, but also, I don't want to lose my job. So I don't think you would, though. To my days.
That's the thing. I don't think you would, man. I mean, you see these guys getting tackled and decleated, man. Some of these guys are former football players. You can tell those security officers, those law enforcement. You can tell those guys because, man, they're leaving their feet, man. I mean, they're laying these guys out.
If you've never seen the guy running from the cops in handcuffs and get shoulder checked into the house, you got to see it.
You got to look up.
That is one of the best.
I love it. We're out of time, man. Chuck Oliver up next with Southern Sports Today, the king of college football. As always, we wrap up every episode by saying, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Thanks for being with us, Coop. Great job as always, partner.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Big John Davis joining us on a Happy Hour Friday tomorrow. The Morning Rant Friday edition of the show coming at you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Thank you for being with us. Again, we're home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
98.1 and 93.7 The Sports Pig, your official home for Georgia Bulldogs basketball.
My goodness.